Today I want to talk to you about the battle between David and Goliath. This is a very interesting story. But I want to emphasize the names of the places where the history took place, because we are missing a lot of information. The name of those places in the Bible, they bring out a lot of information, either so on the grounds where the things are happening, as well as the meaning of the history of where they are and what is going on. In this episode, the battle between David and Goliath, there are many details that we are just skipping. The text, it's found in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 1 and 2, and it's the introduction to what happens afterwards. It's a picture, a written picture of what's going on the grounds, and that explains why they were in a neutral moment where the things didn't advance, neither for the Philistines, neither for the Israelites. So why they were blocked in this moment? They couldn't advance. They were there for days, even for weeks, to the point that the Israel army, they were lacking for food. That's why David was sent to bring some food. And the text says that the Philistines, they met in Soko, and they grounded, they camped there between Soko and Azekah. And Azekah, I don't know how you pronounce it, in the valley of Ephes Dammim. If you read it like that, you're just missing a lot of information, and I will try to translate those names, and you will understand why, what was going on, and why the war was blocked. If we translate those names, it says that the Philistines, they gathered in a place, Soko, that means fenced by bushes. It was a place protected. It was a kind of a fort, a fortress, held by natural fences. It was protected. It was safe. They were hidden, and they were in a place where no one could attack them. And there is where they gathered themselves, and they prepared and organized the battle. And then once they organized themselves, they advanced towards Azekah. But they camped between both places, Azekah and Soko. Why? Because Azekah means literally trenches, a place that was dug out, that was dig. There were trenches, there were ditches around, so people could not come to them because they were blocked by those trenches. And so they were in a safe place. They had in front of them, between the Israelites and them, they had the ditches, the trenches, and behind them they have a safer place where they could protect themselves, like a building, like a fenced area or place where they could defend themselves from any attack. And in the middle of those two places, they settled them, and all this area had the name of Ephes Dammim, which means the border of the blood drops. In other words, it could be translated as bloodshed, a place where the blood was shed, where death happened. They were strong. They held themselves strong in this fortified area, place on one side, protected by ditches on the other side. And they knew that anyone that got into that area, that's why Goliath was asking, who will come to me? Because they knew that these were going to be a bloodshed, and they were winning, actually. On the other side, we see in the verse 2, what's the situation of Israel. You go to verse 2, and you see that they gathered in Elah. Elah, the original verb says that they were pretending to face, to afford this attack, but the key is pretending. They were not able to solve this situation, so the only thing they could do is to pretend that they could try to do something. But it's interesting that they camped in this place named Elah. Elah means actually a oak, means tall tree, like where I am right now, big, huge trees. And so they actually camped on the top of a tall tree, a place where you can climb up and only you can climb down. No one can reach you up. So you are in a kind of safe place, but you cannot move, neither out, neither in. So they were blocked. So the image, the picture that these two verses in the original language was depicting, it's like if I'm in Canada, so imagine now that there is a big, huge grizzly bear that arrives on those camps that I have behind. So my only escape right now is to climb up onto one of those trees as high as I can. And as you may imagine, I should stay there while the bear stays around trying or waiting for me to come down to kill me. So this is the picture that these two verses are depicting, are describing. So they were in a moment of the battle that there was no advance in any way, in any sense. It was a neutral point, let's say that. Philistines were like this bear, this lion, let's say, and their prey was on the top of a tree, the Israeli army. And they wouldn't come down, and they wouldn't leave the Palestinians. They will not neither leave this safe area. They were just waiting for the prey to come down or to get into the bloodshed area. There was no exit. It's interesting. So on the other side, we see two main actors that arrive and get into the story to unblock this situation. We're talking about Goliath and David. The names, they also tell us a lot of how their origins of both of them, and about the solution that the chef of every army gives to unblock this situation. For one side, we have Goliath, which this name comes from an original root that means exiled, or someone who is captive, someone who has been deported, someone who has been brought somewhere against his own will. That's what it means. Someone who is a refugee, but in a bad sense, he has been deported. That's the right translation of the idea of the root. The Philistines tried to unblock this situation by forcing or bringing someone who was there probably against his will, but he had no choice. So he finally was used to that, and he did himself strong in the army, but probably he was not according to his will. It was probably forced, because that's what his name means: forced, exiled, deported. This is something that he didn't choose to be there. Probably he was recruited by force. That's a coward gesture from the Philistines. But anyway, he was the strongest man, so he was there. On the other side, we see that the Israel have no escape, and they were blocked on the top of a tree with the army around them, with the bloodshed waiting for them. So they were in the top of that tree waiting, no resources. The food was, they were running out of food. David had to go there to bring some food. And they had no means to escape and either unblock the situation. But God intervenes, and he sent someone according to his heart, God's heart. And God sent David. The root of the name David means the loved one, the one that loves, the one who is love. David wasn't in the battle, but he was sent to feed his brother, to bring some food, to bring some hope, to bring some new fresh air, something. And he was sent, despite that he was not in the original picture. God sends someone loved to help. David was a symbol of Jesus. And it is like that how God unblocked that sad situation, by the way, where all the odds were against the Israel army, and he unblocked it. He unblocked it, this situation, against all odds, in favor of Israel, as you may think. Well, God brought some hope Bro did many other things, and he can still do it for you today on the same way.